Well, here we are, almost a month into 2025 already, and man, it just seems like it just flew past. Seems like yesterday was 2024, and yesterday we were all busy making our top 10 lists of 2024, and one of the bands that landed on my list, another Australian band, surprise, surprise, came in at number 9. These guys just kind of got me just out of left field. I heard them and I went, wow, there's something special about this band. And it was really cool to be able to catch up with Ben, the bass player and vocalist from this band. The band I'm talking about is Goatzilla. You're tuned in to another edition of Rock Talk right here on CGCM Rock Radio. Yes, it is another edition of Rock Talk right here on CGCM Rock Radio. Bob Bannister with you, and joining us this time around is the bass player and vocalist from the band that was sitting at number 9 on my top 10 albums of 2024. We're joined by Ben from Goatzilla. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Happy New Year to yourself and everybody listening or watching.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And same to you. And, in our little preamble before we hit record here, we were kind of comparing things weather-wise. And yeah, it's a little snowy and cold here, but what is it where you're at now?
I'm on the Gold Coast in Queensland, which
Yes.
is just below Brisbane for anybody who knows Australian geography. So we're subtropical. At the moment, I think it's about 26 degrees. We've had absolutely torrential rain here. There's floods in the streets at the moment. They're just all settling. But yeah, it's the humidity makes it feel as though it's closer to 40 at the moment, even though it's kind of mid-20s. So it's disgusting. We're just hoping we get a nice breeze through to clear it all up. But yeah, nowhere near as cold as you guys. We don't do that. I ice up if it drops below 25. So I like my tropical weather.
Yes, absolutely. I can somewhat relate. I mean, summers here in Canada are actually quite beautiful, but I think without the 4 different distinct seasons, I think I would be lost, really.
Yeah, we get hot and hotter, and that's it. We just get to.
So let's talk some music for a little bit, shall we?
Sure.
Like I said, Alien Nation ranked number 9 on my top 10 albums of 2024. Just an absolutely stunning album. How does that compare to 2019's Motherfuckersaurus? I love that name.
Motherfuckersaurus was a bit of a beast. That was our first effort. We were very punky back then. There's John who started the band with me at the time. He was real punk. I was real rock, and that came out in the stuff that we wrote. So it was, we learned a lot, fairly tumultuous halfway through. John developed carpal tunnel, couldn't play anymore. So we got, at that stage, Pete Beardsley, who's still with the band, thankfully, a very integral part of the band. He took over a lot of the guitaring duties there. And at the end of it, the drummer at the time, Brian, he left as well. So we got, just when we finished the recording was when we changed to the current lineup that we have as of now, which is myself, Pete Beardsley or P1, Pete Jansen, also guitarist, or P2, and Mick Davies on drums. So Mick had actually jammed with John and myself back 2014 before the band formed. But Mick had a young family, a lot of responsibilities there, so couldn't join the band. But come 2019, when we finished the album, he was ready to go. So we've now got that album. A lot of different influences in there. Of course, we've got myself and P1. We're very much old school rock. Everything from going back Jurassic period. We're talking, MC5, Deep Purple. Humble Pie, that kind of really old rock. Slade. I was actually just listening to some Slade stuff earlier before we jumped on the call. But right through going into more punky stuff and more modern metal as well. New wave, very heavily Motorhead influenced. But then we've also got P2 and Mick, who are a lot more into the full on metal and current day type metal. So that kind of blends. But we've also got a love of thrash, 80s and 90s style thrash, everything from early Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, that kind of thing. So it's all of these different blends that kind of what went into Alien Nation. And we've between myself and the two Pete's, we all kind of masterminded a bunch of the songs and somebody to come up with a concept. We'd all work on them and turn it into something new, and in a lot of cases, quite different to what we originally started out thinking it was going to sound like. But yeah, delighted with the way it's come out, and so thanks to the number nine position, we're truly honoured. So thank you.
And I am finding a ton of great Australian rock out there. I think that Australia has to have probably one of the hottest music scenes currently on the planet.
We've got there's a lot of interest in up here where I'm southeast Queensland, which is Gold Coast and Brisbane. Really strong scene. It's still kind of suffering from the hangover of COVID, unfortunately, because a lot of venues and a lot of the people in the scene dropped out to get other jobs because there wasn't anything here. That hasn't quite built up. Down in Melbourne, they're going great guns. We toured the album down there a couple of months ago, had a great response, lots of, good crowds, lots of venues up and going. Sydney's in a bit of a mess. That's still coming along, but the crowds are there. People are coming back. There's a lot of enthusiasm. The bands that are coming out that we're playing with are really kicking some goals. So the yeah, the downside, of course, is we don't have the record industry that can foster that, nurture that talent. The money's not there now, so you've got to do everything pretty much yourself. Been very fortunate to have signed up with a company called X Music, who's a feeder label for Better Noise Group, who've got Five Finger Death Punch, Asking Alexandria, a lot of top name
Mhm.
US acts. And so they're helping us out a lot, and a bunch of other bands who are kind of coming up with this as well at the same time. But even so, there's no money in it. It's professional assistance. It's helping us get higher profile in the streaming services, which we've been very fortunate with. But yeah, it's I'm old enough to remember to have been going out into the live music scene and cut my live music teeth in the late 80s and early 90s when you could go out and see a live band, pretty much a bunch of live bands, pretty much any night of the week. The bands that we're playing with now are as good, if not better, than bands around at that time, and we'd love to see them do really well and get out there on the international stage and get the recognition that they deserve. And I'm sure you're seeing similar things over there in Canada as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, a few minutes ago, you mentioned Motorhead. I see a couple Rickenbackers back there
Oh
behind you.
yes,
Lemmy would be
yeah.
proud, my friend.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I'd love to get one of his heads actually, 49%
Yeah.
motherfucker, 51% son of a bitch. So but yeah, but love Marix. I've actually got a bit of a different, but I'll show you what I've got these days. Hang on one
Sure
second.
thing. Absolutely,
I'll,
man.
I won't go far. All packed up for a gig. I'll just take her out. Oh, come on, there we go. Right, this one. Ah, there we go.
Oh, yes.
So this is a copy for basis. You'll know exactly who this is. This is a copy of, but this is a reproduction of Bootsy
Bootsy
Collins'
Collins.
original Starbase. So I found this on a work trip for in the UK last year, and I was just wandering around on my day off the music stores and didn't intend to buy anything, especially when I was seeing the prices there and translating pound sterling into Australian dollars.
Right.
And I just saw this hanging on the wall, and gear acquisition syndrome kicked in, took it off the wall, played it after about 3 minutes, and kind of it was at a time when I could phone my wife back in Australia and said, I think I've found my new birthday present. And she said, "Oh, okay." So yeah, grabbed it and took it home. So this is what I'm playing live now, but still love my Rickies. Um, I've got my Iceman up there as well, which is a fun one. That's a long neck one there. That's the Charlie D'Angelo Ibanez Iceman bass. And I don't know if you can see the other one.
Oh, wow.
I've got my Sandberg 49 there, which sounds absolutely brilliant. And it's a fiver. But I play four strings on stage and do a lot of writing and recording with that one. So yeah, I love my basses.
That's very cool. Thank you for that. I'm a failed bass player myself, and another guy here at the radio station, Wally. He's in a band and he plays bass as well. So that's a really nice treat. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Pleasure.
Now you've got a really big show coming up in just about a week's time with some friends of ours in Avalanche and Black Whiskey, as well as Snakebite Whiskey, Stone Rising, Whiskey on the Rocks. I'm sensing a theme there. Slither and Tailor Made Rejects, the Rock is Not Dead Festival.
Yes, yeah, yeah. A lot of whiskey themed bands there. So
But
we love our Jamisons in Goatzilla. So I think it's going to go down a treat.
there you go. So, what
Yeah.
can fans expect when Goatzilla takes the stage?
Well, we've come off the back of touring our album. So we've been playing up and down the East Coast. We capped off the year with a New Year's gig at the Paddington Tavern, where we got to support Dream Killers, who local legends up here, been around since the 90s. Huge band, great bunch of guys. And we're revved up after that tour and absolutely keen to take the what we've been touring down south onto the stage up here in Brisbane. So it's going to be a big one. Most of the tracks are going to be off are going to be off Alien Nation, the new album. A couple of ones off Motherfuckersaurus. But yeah, we're revved up and really excited to play. Most of the bands we've played with previously. I think there's really only two, Slither and Whiskey on the Rocks, that we haven't had the chance to share a stage with. But everyone else, Avalanche are awesome. We've played with them a bunch of times up here, and they always put on a great live show. Tailor-Made Rejects, who've come up in the last couple of years as well. Amazing lead singer, amazing performance. Snakebite Whiskey have been around longer than us and been kicking stages internationally. And their live show is absolutely phenomenal. Stone Rising, we got to play with at Metal United Down Under at the beginning of last year, and they were a load of fun. And yeah, Black Whiskey, we've played with a bunch of times. So yeah, look, it is going to be a fantastic afternoon and evening of rock. And looking at the number of responses, and the ticket sales have been going really well, which is great. So we're looking forward to a big crowd and a lot of fun.
That sounds like a whole lot of fun. But if I could afford it, if I could have afforded a ticket, I would have been on a plane headed there just to see this. That would just be so cool. Like I said, I've interviewed Avalanche and Snakebite Whiskey, and they're a great bunch of guys and gals.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're fun. Amazing to watch live as well. So yeah, the live stage show. This is going to be brilliant.
Absolutely. So, what's the creative process like with you guys?
Um, it's a lot of fun. what as I mentioned before, what tends to happen is one of us kind of masterminds a song. We'll come up with an idea and a concept. Because of what happened during COVID, is, of course, we were all locked down and couldn't do anything. We all invested in a whole bunch of home recording gear. So, and there's a big learning curve and how to get the most out of that. So what we'll basically do is record something, mock it up, share it around, say, oh, what do you think? And we'll go, yeah, let's have a crack at this one, park that one for a while, and we get together and jam it. And we'll play through it a few times, and each time something comes up a bit different. What happened with the last one is, of course, we'd worked with them for so long over COVID and then started playing when we came out of COVID. We pretty much had them down to the stage where we knew what we were going to do when we went to the studio, and it went through pretty much unchanged. The thing that we noticed, though, was that as we were recording and we got the chance to actually sit there and start dissecting everything, we'd come up with all of these ideas, go, oh, what if, what if, what if, what if? We had to keep a cap on it because otherwise it just would have spiraled off into infinity. Anybody who's ever been involved in recording anything or creative process knows the dangers on that. You've got to have a cut-off line at some point. So what we're doing this time round, because we're in the middle of we're in pre-production for our next album at the moment. And what we're doing there is coming up with ideas, but we're going through the recording process and bringing out all this creative input before we actually take it out and try it on a live stage somewhere. So a little bit of a different approach, but everybody gets input. We're very big believers in the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and we want to leverage everybody's different kind of creative vibe and creative DNA to generate something unique. So we're not. I mentioned before we're heavily influenced by Motorhead. That's true, but we're not trying to sound like Motorhead. We just love the vibe. Same with AC/DC. It's that raw, unfiltered rock sound that that we love. But we're not trying to sound like anybody else. We just go, okay, this is what we want to do, and we keep on going until everybody's happy with how it sounds, and then we lock it down.
Now, speaking of ACDC, I'd heard something not that long ago where the government of Australia is actively searching for, quote unquote, the next ACDC and presenting incentives to bands for this. Is this true, or is this just an internet rumor?
To be honest, that's the first I've heard of it. I'd love it to be true. I certainly hope it to be true. I know that prior to the everything shutting down, live music in Australia, the figure, I think it used to generate $16.7 billion for the economy. Here we go, getting all political. Which is, it's up there. It's close to organized sport, but you can't gamble on music. You can't bet on music, can you?
No.
And there's no big end of town now kind of looking after live bands and looking after you've got Live Nation, but all they do is look after the existing big names anyway. They're not interested in fostering new talent. Same with the record companies. They're no longer the big record companies are no longer interested in fostering new talent. All they want to do is be rights managers for existing catalogs, and that's it. So when we get people like X Music, Tim and the team at X Music come along and say they want to help developers, that's a real lifeline for us, and it gives us all hope and the scene hope that there are people out there who are truly interested and invested in getting bands the coverage that they deserve and getting people out back into live festivals. Because there's nothing, I don't have to tell the people who are watching this, there is nothing like being in a live festival. There's nothing like being in a pit and just going off to the music with thousands of people around you who are into the same thing. It's just that vibe, and then being up on stage is another level altogether. Nothing beats that, and we need it. It's good for the economy. It's good for the morale and the vibe of the country, and especially with all the crap that's going on in the world at the moment, we need more things to be happy about. We need more opportunities to celebrate and come together as people, celebrating, enjoying the same things in life, as opposed to all this divisive crap we see all over social media and God knows what. So that's my hippie background talking there. But it's true. It's across we do a lot of punk gigs, we do a lot of metal gigs, we do a lot of rock gigs. And it's the same thing. Everybody, it's all about coming together and celebrating your love for music, having a great time, letting out all the stress and anger, and just feeling good together and having a great time.
Now, one of the big acts that we like to play on CGCM Rock Radio is Iron Maiden, and we're actually sponsored
Oh,
by
yes.
Trooper Beer. And
Oh,
yeah, it's
well
pretty cool.
done.
It's
Well
it,
done.
it's
Yes.
pretty cool. And I've got to ask you, and with Iron Maiden, Yannick is known for being the guy that's always falling down on stage or dropping his guitar or something like that. Have you had a Yannick moment on stage?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, more than one or two. It's not difficult when you're playing small stages and you're racing around. There's a lot of movement in it in our live act, so easy to trip over a chord, easy to trip over yourself. So yes, it happens quite regularly. I've got to say, I did get to try a Trooper beer when Maiden was out here toward the end of last year. And I got to see them finally. They had to cancel the Legacy of the Beast tour
Mm.
because of COVID. Book of Souls tour I missed because of work, unfortunately. So this time around I got to see them, and they had Trooper beer at the gig, so I got to try one. Yeah, if the manufacturers want to do a Goatzilla beer, we'd love to do it. We could do a drop beer. There you go. One of our songs is drop beer, so we could do a drop beer.
There we go, Robinsons. If you're listening, right here. Now everybody's got that one song that they hear and they go, "Damn, I wish I wrote that." What's yours?
2 minutes to midnight.
Oh,
By Maiden. I don't even have to think
that was
about that one.
easy.
That was, yeah, yeah. I just listened because the first time I heard that, that's what got me hooked on Maiden. I just went, there's loads of, don't get me wrong, there's loads of others. There's loads in the ACD catalogue, there's loads in the Slade catalogue. The Angels, the Australian band, the Angels, don't know if you've heard much about them over there in Canada. Yeah, look, there's heaps of them, but if there's one song I could say, I wish I wrote it, to be 2 minutes to midnight.
That is such a killer song. I love that.
Yeah. Mm.
So now, before we wrap things up here, I like to do a little thing called this or that. It's just 5 or 6 top of the head answer, rapid response questions. If you're ready, we'll just fire into
Yep.
that. All right.
Let's go.
CD, vinyl, or MP3?
Vinyl.
Spicy food or sugary treats?
So spicy.
Iced coffee or iced tea?
Coffee.
Pool, beach, or water park?
Beach.
Video games or board games?
Video.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
And finally, somewhere down the road, they're making a movie of Goatzilla. Who's playing Ben?
Ah, very good question. I don't know. With this hair, Margot Robbie. So don't know if she could do the voice. Oh, she probably could. She's a very talented woman. But
Yep.
yeah, there you go. Look, she's Aussie. I'll stick with her.
Right on. There you go. Hey, Ben, what's the website? What's the socials of Goatzilla?
If you go to on Facebook, it's goatzilla.rocks. Also the website's www.goatzilla.rocks.
Excellent. And I want to thank you for joining us here on this edition of Rock Talk. It's been a whole lot of fun. Thank you very much, Ben, for joining us.
Bob, thanks very much. Take care. Happy New Year.
And I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you again next time right here on CGCM Rock Radio.